In today's build we improved my existing concrete mailbox in such a way that it gives us a notification on our watch and on our phone if there is something delivered. It will have a nice LED indicator on the mailbox itself that there is something delivered, and it automatically resets at the moment that we empty it. Awesome that you join me in this build. Let's go in and start at the beginning. Welcome to the build of making my mailbox smart. This is where everything started. I'm quite often walking to my mailbox to see if there is something delivered. So let's go. Let's see if those toothbrushes that we ordered are already delivered. So the weather is good. So that's not an issue for our walk. So there we have the mailbox and let's see if there is something in it. No, it's empty. So unfortunately that was a useless walk to the mailbox. We should be able to improve that, right? We can make use of a few simple sensors here, like a detection sensor when there is new mail delivered, and a reset sensor when the mail is fetched by opening the door on the back side. John, add a light on the outside of the box so that it's also visible when there is new mail. When you're coming home, that's handy, right? That's actually quite a good idea. Let's also add a status LED. Give it a loud sound from heaven when there is new mail delivered. No, we're not going to do that. Let's keep it simple. So we're going to use one sensor when there is new mail. We're going to use a reset sensor when we fetch the mail, and we're using a status LED to indicate on the box itself when there is new mail delivered. Everything integrated with Home Assistant so that we can also integrate it on the dashboard in the living. I think that's a cool and useful project, right? Let's go in and start the build. So we're going to create a mail detection system that triggers when there is new mail and that automatically resets when we empty it. We only use a few simple components, an ESP8266 on a small PCB, and we use some terminal blocks to keep the wiring clean and simple. A peer sensor to detect when there is new mail. No John, we're not going to use this peer sensor. And I left this part in on purpose because I wanted to explain you something. I did quite a lot of testing with the peer sensor, and although it looks promising, it's simply not working in the mailbox. After wasting some time on a peer sensor that was not detecting the delivery of letters, I moved to another sensor. And I tested with this TCRT5000. And that works incredibly well for this build. The TCRT sensor is an IR infrared sensor. And it has quite a small, short range of like 4 or 5 centimeters max. But as the slot in the mailbox is not wider, this sensor is the perfect fit for what we want to achieve here. And it is way more responsive than a peer sensor with motion. So at the end, the TCRT sensor is the best fit for this build. We move on by using this infrared sensor. The ESP8266 that I'm using is capable of using 5 to 10 voltage. So an old Nokia charger that I had laying around is very suitable for this. For this build I wanted to make use of micro switches with like a small handle that I can use as a normally closed contact. But unfortunately the delivery of them is delayed, so I'm now using temporarily a small micro switch like this, and I'll install it next to the door so that it is normally closed, and when I open the door it opens the contact. But this type of switch is not a really nice fit for my purpose. So only for the test setup I will just use this simple switch. But as soon as the switch with the micro handle is arrived, I will replace it with that behind the door of the mailbox. For the status light I'm using some blue LED that I had laying around. Also for this build I will link to the components in the comments. Because I want to make my videos a bit shorter, I'm not going to explain the soldering step by step. I will link to the wiring diagram in the comments. And if you follow that, it should all work out fine. Here I'm doing the soldering, and afterwards I will connect the components to it so that we can do a test on our desk. I want to make sure that it's perfectly working before installing it outside in the mailbox. I clearly labeled the terminal blocks on the PCB. So after the wiring is done, the soldering, I will connect the sensors to the correct terminal blocks. And if you ask why are the terminals facing the ESP, I did this with a reason. I want to make the box that everything will be installed in as small as possible. And on this way there are no wires sticking out on the side, and I can make the box exactly the same size as the PCB. So everything will be nice and tight installed in a small box and not wasting any space. I finally received the microswitch. At least I wanted to show you and how I glued them in their small housing. And that is exactly how I will use it in the mailbox behind the door. So those are the microswitches. And this is the small microswitch in the housing that I created for it. It works way better. In the meantime, I replaced the switch in the mailbox and it's working awesome. I made some small housing for the sensors. And this also makes the system very flexible because you can adapt it to your own situation. Your mailbox is maybe different than mine. So first I thought, let's create everything in one box. And although that's a really nice idea, it's not suitable for everyone. So I made it modular. In this way you can have the big box with the controller somewhere installed that is not consuming any space in your mailbox, and have the sensors with a wire long enough for your specific situation. Now let's move to Home Assistant and do the required work there. So we need one helper, a fictional entity, to indicate if there is mail delivered or not. In Home Assistant we go to Settings, Services and Devices, Helpers, and we create a new helper. We create the helper from the type toggle and we give it the name mailbox identifier, and we give it a nice icon. Later we can modify the icons so that we have one specific icon for an empty mailbox and one for the status when there is something delivered. So that's our mailbox identifier, and it can have the status on or off. We will do the further automation based on this. To add this helper on our dashboard, we go to the entity details. We click on the settings gear and we copy the entity ID. This is the tile on the Home Assistant dashboard that I'm using for this, and I will show you the details here. It is from the type custom button card. I will make the code of the custom card available on the website so that you can make use of it. So it looks like this when there is no new mail, and now I force it, so this is when there is new mail. But of course we will automate this based on the triggers. This only confirms that the card is working as expected. Now we will create the automation behind it so that it will turn green with new mail when there is mail delivered, and when we empty the mailbox it will go back to no new mail. And this is the fully working automation. It gives us a push message if there is new mail. Even if the status LED is already indicating that there is mail, it still gives us a push message when there is mail delivered. I think that's convenient. This is how it looks like on the small dashboard that I created for the test. At this moment it's indicating that there is no mail. And if we trigger, it shows new mail. And it gives us a push message on our phone and watch how we configure it. If there is even more mail coming in, it gives us again a notification that there is something delivered. I think that's convenient. And when we open the door to empty the mailbox, it goes back to no new mail. So that's working flawless now. I will include the code of the automation in the comments or on my website so that you can simply make use of that. If you want to reproduce this build and you're not that familiar with electronics or with home automation, then simply make use of the same names as I did. Then nothing should go wrong. And in the meantime, if you have questions about this build, then post them in the comments. I'll try to help you out there. And if you like projects like this, then please help me out by becoming a subscriber and like this video. Because as a beginning content creator, I'm trying to broaden my audience here, so that I can help and inspire more people by doing nice and cool do-it-yourself projects. Also take a look at my other projects. There are several online now, and there is way more to come. There are a lot of ideas in my mind that I want to create a guidance video about. And I'm really looking forward to spend more time on documenting those things and create cool videos about it. And if there were ways that I can make those videos more useful for you, then let me know. This summarizes the automation and our test on a dashboard in Home Assistant. And with this you can add the identifier for new mail on the dashboard of your preference. So now the components work in the test setup on my desk. The automation works. The notification to my phone works. So we're good to go to install everything in the mailbox. Let's go outside and do the final installations there. My mailbox is a concrete pillar with a door on the back side to retrieve the mail. I will install the box with the controller, the ESP, inside the concrete pillar. In this way it's weather resistant, though it can be challenging with the Wi-Fi. But as I'm using the 2.4 GHz and it is not that far, for me this works. If this is not working for you, then first try if it works if the control box is outside the concrete pillar. If that solves it, then mount the control box on the outside of the concrete pillar. Maybe the casing needs to be a bit more rigid then, but I think that's not the biggest challenge. And I'm installing the TCRT sensor directly next to the slot where the mail is put in. I'll mount a small switch directly next to the door, so that when the door is closed, it touches the switch. And unfortunately I need to use this switch for now, but we replace it when we receive the correct one. But also based on this, we can create a complete working build. All the components are now installed and I powered up the ESP. Let's do the real-world testing. And a big thanks to the sponsor of today's build, borsteltje.nl, a Dutch webshop for toothbrushes, delivering to the Netherlands and Belgium. So if you need toothbrushes for your Oral-B or Philips electric brush, give them a visit, borsteltje.nl. Big thanks for supporting today's build. Now let's see if it works. So that works awesome. We have created an identifier on the mailbox that is visible when I'm coming home with the car or with the bicycle, so that I can see if there is new mail delivered that day. And it is visible on the Home Assistant dashboard, which is also very convenient when I'm going out and walking the dogs, for example. And here with also the standard cost overview of this project. It's quite a cheap build. For less than 25 euros of material, you can do this by yourself. I find it really convenient and I'm happy with it. And although it's not solving that a big problem, it's just convenience. If you like those kind of builds, take a look at my other projects. As a beginning content creator, I'm trying to broaden my audience, so you really help me by becoming a subscriber to my channel and liking this video. I'm John, this was Forest Guy Builds, and I hope to see you in one of my next builds.